Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin has officially confirmed the break below this key level of support in the short term, now hitting my exact price target, wiping out this area of liquidity in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, while Ethereum is still playing out this major warning signal. So yes, I am now shorting Ethereum. So in just a moment, I'll be sharing my exact trading strategy, showing you how I'm currently making money, even if the price is bearish, while Solana is once again rejecting from this significant area of resistance. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And of course, on this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have a major bearish divergence, which is technically confirmed and already starting to play out in the price of Bitcoin. So of course, a bearish divergence means it's unlikely we're going to see significant bullish momentum. And what is much more likely is we're going to have a period of a cool off in the price. So at best, a bit of a sideways consolidation, or possibly a bit more of a pullback within the next couple of months or so. Obviously, on the weekly time frame here, this is not a short-term signal, but if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, at least for now, we're still kind of lacking momentum, but starting to look a little bit more bearish in the momentum than we are bullish, but still not a lot of momentum. Because if we're looking at the histogram within the MACD indicator on this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we can see that right now it's heading a little bit further in the bearish direction, in the red once again, but still, once again, not showing significant momentum like what we saw back here. So at least for now, I'll not necessarily expect a major pump or a major crash, at least on these larger timeframes here. Obviously, in the short term, on the smaller timeframes, we can see short-term bullish moves and short-term bearish moves, which is what we are currently seeing. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, technically speaking, we still have a confirmed bearish divergence with high highs confirmed in the price and lower highs confirmed in the daily Bitcoin RSI. So like I've already been warning about over the last few days for roughly half a week now, technically this bearish divergence means we're likely going to see a little bit more of a pullback in the short term, or at best maybe a sideways consolidation, but essentially we should not be expecting significant bullish momentum right now, at least in the short term for the next few days or possibly weeks. And as for resistance and support on the daily time frame, we have significant resistance in that lower 120k area, and we did have some support right here at around 117,000, but obviously we've now broken 117,000. So the next significant level of support on the daily time frame is at around 112,000. So keep that in mind. But obviously we have some other short-term levels of support I'll talk about in just a moment. So taking a look at the shorter term on the 8-hour time frame here, and once again we have technically confirmed to break below this short-term level of support, which was sitting at around 117,000, and for some time here that was acting as support. We did see a slight bounce from this level, but as I warned about many times over the last few days, yes, we could see slight little bounces from support, very normal to see, but still don't expect a lot of bullish momentum towards the upside, because that is simply not the situation right now. We are lacking bullish momentum, playing out bearish divergences on multiple timeframes. And so while a bunch of other people out there in the crypto market were telling you to buy or long right here, I was one of the few out there telling you to be cautious, and that we could likely see a bit more of a pullback coming very soon for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market here in the short term, with these warning signals and bearish signals still currently playing out and affecting the price of crypto. And so this is why I've been saying recently at this short-term bounce just here, I've been saying I'd not really be looking for new long positions right now, because we should not be expecting any significant bullish momentum. So there's not really much of an opportunity to long Bitcoin right now, is what I said right here. And in other words, I'll be looking for more short positions over long positions, at least as of right now. Not financial advice, I'm just simply telling you what I'm looking at. And so now that we've officially broken below 117,000 decisively, the next short-term level of support that I've been targeting over the last few days, I said if we break below 117,000, we'll likely see a quick drop down towards roughly 115,000, and then find support at roughly 115,000. And obviously, as you can see right here, we have done exactly that, as I've been saying, over the last few days since before this perfectly played out. And so I'll now expect support at that level I've already been talking about here on the channel at roughly 115,000. But if we break below 115,000, then once again, the next target, the next key point of support would be that $112,000 level. And it is likely we'd find a decent amount of support down there if we first break below 115,000. 115,000, which for the time being is providing a little bit of short-term support. And as for resistance, if we were to see a little bit of a further bounce here in the short term, expect a lot of resistance at roughly 117,000 based on previous support becoming new resistance. And of course, one of the main reasons why I've been targeting roughly 115,000 over the last few days before this move played out was thanks to the fact that the Bitcoin liquidation heat map was revealing a lot of liquidity in the price of Bitcoin at just above 115,000. And usually, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where we have a lot of liquidity to wipe out a lot of long positions in this case right here. And so obviously that's exactly what happened. The price of Bitcoin moved towards where we had a lot of liquidity in the short term at just above 115,000 to wipe out a bunch of long positions, liquidate some long positions in this latest little drop right here. And the next area of liquidity I'll be watching, first of all, we have a small amount building at around 114,000 and also a small amount building at close to 112,000. And also a small amount at around 125,000, but keep in mind, we should not be expecting significant bullish momentum right now, so it's much more likely we'll see another little drop, maybe towards 114 to 112,000 moving forward. But once again, in the meantime, we still have this support, which we're running into right now at around 115,000, so it is possible we could see maybe a slight little bounce from this level, like what we saw over the last couple of days from 117,000 before ultimately we broke that level later on. And in terms of trading strategies, personally, I'm not currently in a Bitcoin trade simply due to the fact that Ethereum versus Bitcoin, I'll talk more about this in just a moment, but ETH, BTC, Ethereum versus Bitcoin on the daily time frame is currently playing out a bearish divergence. So this simply means Ethereum would likely be doing a little bit worse than what Bitcoin is doing. So at least in my situation, once again, not financial advice, this currently makes more sense to short Ethereum, but I'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, if you want to actually trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking a lot of my trades in this trade right here over on BTNX. So I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive trading bonuses and enter this 25,000 USDT prize pool simply just by trading crypto using that link. And so for example, if you have a high trading volume or high P&L, so percentage profits, or if you're a new user, etc., there's multiple ways here where you can actually get a percentage of this major prize pool here. So if you want essentially free money from the exchange or a chance of this major prize pool here, simply check out that first link below this video, which will take you to this page right here where you can see all of this information about this major $25,000 prize pool, which you can claim using that link just by trading crypto. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also Pinex as another exchange out there that I also use. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Pinex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some major bonuses. For example, if you simply just make an account, it takes about 1 minute to do this and simply complete KYC using that link below this video, you get a free $50 bonus onto your Pinex account. And then there's also deposit bonuses. For example, if you deposit just $100, you get a $100 bonus into your Pinex account, free money from the exchange, which you can use to trade over on Pinex. And if you deposit up to $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus onto your Pinex account. Once again, only if you use the link below this video to Pinex. So once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well get set up ready to go using the links below this video to these exchanges if you want to claim these major bonuses. And with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance on the 3-day time frame, at least for now, we are experiencing another slight little bounce, but overall the price structure is still technically looking more bearish than it is bullish. And so the only thing that would really reverse that back into the bullish direction for the Bitcoin dominance would be if we actually see a breakout above this area right here, sitting in between around 60.5% to 61%, because previously this has been a key area on the price chart, previous significant support, and should now be acting as new resistance if the price bounces back up towards that area in the Bitcoin dominance. And if we see a bounce very soon in the Bitcoin dominance, so in other words, if this ultimately ends up being the low and we see a very quick bounce very soon once again in the Bitcoin dominance, it's possible we could see a small bullish divergence actually confirm here, because obviously we already have the lower lows in place in the price here, but it's possible we're still currently forming higher lows, very slight higher lows in the 3-day RSI for the Bitcoin dominance. So keep this in mind, but at least for now, this is not currently officially confirmed. And in case you're new to all of this, all you really need to know about the Bitcoin dominance is if the Bitcoin dominance is bullish, Bitcoin is outperforming most of the crypto market. So essentially it makes really no sense to focus on the altcoin market if the Bitcoin dominance is bullish. But if the Bitcoin dominance is bearish, that usually coincides with an altcoin season, essentially, where a lot of altcoins, at least a lot of the major altcoins out there, are having bigger gains than what Bitcoin is doing, especially Ethereum as of recent over the last few weeks or over the last 1 month or so. But with this slight little bounce in the immediate short term, especially at the same time as Bitcoin having this breakdown in the short term, obviously, while this is happening in the immediate short term, this is not really good for altcoins, just once again in the short term. But if we're taking a look at the weekly Ethereum price chart, for now, we're still trading in between two very significant areas on the price chart. First of all, this area, based on previous significant resistance, now acting as new support in between around 3.9K to 4.1K. And we also have this area acting as significant resistance for the price right now, which we have just seen a rejection from, and it's based on the previous all-time high sitting in between around 4.8K to 4.9K, so just under 5,000, acting as strong resistance. And for as long as the price of ETH is holding above roughly 4,000, especially above 3.9K right here, technically speaking, the larger price structure, the longer term trend or long-term momentum is still looking more bullish than it is bearish. We're still looking very bullish here when we're talking about the bigger picture, the longer term once again. But if we actually see a confirmed break with at least a weekly candle close back below 3.9K, back below this area on the price chart, that would be very bad news for the larger price structure for Ethereum, not just the short term. But for now, all we're simply seeing is, of course, a short-term pullback, technically within larger bullish price structure. And so if we're taking a look at the daily time frame, once again, as I've already been warning about over the last half a week, since pretty much all the way back up here at around 4.7K, give or take, I've been warning about this bearish divergence with higher highs confirmed in the price. And then once again, after we saw those two candle closes in the red right here a few days ago, we officially confirmed the lower high in place in the daily Ethereum RSI. And so, of course, this is why I've been warning about here on the channel that we're likely going to see potentially a bit more of a pullback in the price of ETH, or at best, maybe just some sideways price action. But essentially, we should not be expecting significant bullish momentum right now, just in the short term, once again, for a period of days or weeks. Honestly, it's likely going to be roughly 1 to 2 weeks is a very likely scenario from this bearish divergence, basically cooling off, possibly pulling back in the price, because the last bearish divergence we saw on the daily Ethereum price chart was right here, just a very small one right here, which played out for almost 1 week. That was a very small bearish divergence. But then the one before that was back here around mid-June, a similar size bearish divergence to what we're seeing right now, and that played out for closer towards 2 weeks. And so all I'm saying is just don't be surprised if we see either a bit more of a pullback as a very likely outcome, or at best, just some sideways price action. So lacking bullish momentum, showing a lot of weakness in the shorter term for at least the next 1 week or so is a very likely scenario for the price of Ethereum. And obviously, I've already been saying that exact same thing over the last half a week since higher prices here. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin, ETH BTC on the daily time frame, right now we're technically still playing out this bearish divergence here, because we've already confirmed higher highs in the price, and of course lower highs confirmed in the daily RSI. And so this means we're likely going to see a bit more of a cool off for ETH BTC, at least for the next 1 week or so, maybe longer, maybe a couple of weeks, but at least over the next 1 week, we're likely going to continue a bit more of a cool off. So basically, maybe some slight bearish price action is a very likely outcome, a very common outcome from a bearish divergence. And of course, I'll also be keeping a close eye on what the Bitcoin dominance is doing and the price of Bitcoin, because for example, if the Bitcoin dominance actually continues dumping here, then of course that'll be bullish for ETH BTC, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, like what we saw over the last few weeks, over the last 1 month, give or take. This was very bullish while we were seeing a dump in the Bitcoin dominance. But if in the short term, maybe for the next week or so, we see a little bit of a pause in the pullback in the Bitcoin dominance, maybe even a slight little bounce like this in the Bitcoin dominance just for the next 1 week, give or take, and especially if Bitcoin is still showing signs of weakness in the shorter term, having these slight little pullbacks here, obviously that'll be bearish, not just for ETH BTC, but especially for Ethereum against the US dollar. And so obviously this is exactly what I've already been talking about over the last half a week. And so over the last 3 videos or so, for the last 3 days, I've been saying every day, I'll be looking towards a new Ethereum short position, about to short Ethereum, getting you guys prepared before I'm even taking the trade myself, telling you that I'm likely going to short Ethereum here. But the signal I was waiting for was a break to the downside below this level of support in the price price of Bitcoin below 117,000. But now that that has happened, and now that we're seeing a very slight little bounce in the Bitcoin dominance, those were the signals that once again I was looking for over the last few days in my last few videos to now open an Ethereum short position. And so right now, that is simply my trading strategy. I'm currently in just a small Ethereum short position, around a $220,000 Ethereum short position, currently just a couple of $1,000s in profits, as you can see right here. My stop loss is currently sitting at break even. And so I'm just letting you know that here on this channel, I'm not a perma bull or a perma bear. Obviously, if the price is bullish, like we saw roughly a week ago back here, of course, I was longing the price of Bitcoin back then roughly a week ago and made over $30,000 in a week from that Bitcoin long position. And now I'm doing the same, just in the opposite direction, shorting Ethereum while the price is bearish. So it doesn't matter if we're bullish or bearish, we can make money in both directions. And a similar trading strategy to what I said about a week ago for Bitcoin. Of course, with that Bitcoin long position, I was taking some profits here and there out of that position, just slightly reducing the size of the trade at key points of resistance along the way towards the upside. And so, of course, in the case of a short position right here, I'm looking towards key points of support where the price could possibly bounce from to take a little bit of profits off the table at those certain points of support along the way towards the downside. And then, of course, if the price continues dumping here, so the trade moves further and further into profits, I'll just slowly move this stop loss a little bit further and further into profits if the trade moves further into profits. And the levels of support that I'll be watching for to potentially reduce the size of the trade would be, first of all, this level right here. We do have a bit of short-term support here at just above 4.2k, so at around 42.20 to 42.40, give or take. We do have a bit of short-term support there, and already I've taken a very, very small amount of profits out of this trade right here, but still most of the trade is currently open. So the next level, if we break below 4.2k, would be, of course, this significant area right here, which I would expect a lot of support in between 3.9k to 4.1k. And so honestly, if the price of ETH gets anywhere near roughly 4,000 or 4.1k in the lower $4,000 area, I'll be taking decent profits out of this short position. I'm not necessarily holding this for months. This is just a shorter term trade while this bearish divergence is playing out, maybe for another week or so as a likely scenario. But like I did with my last trade, that Bitcoin long position about a week ago, of course, at those points of resistance along the way towards the upside, yes, I did take some profits here and there, but I never closed the entire trade at any one of those levels. I kept some of the trade remaining open in case the price just breaks through those points of resistance and heads higher. And then, of course, I moved the stop loss further into profits so that ultimately, if we dump, it'll just close the rest of the trade in profits. And so that's what I'll be looking to do with this Ethereum short position. Once again, looking at those points of support to take a bit of profits here and there, especially at roughly 4,000, taking a decent amount of profits off the table, but still not closing the entire trade. Just in the case that we actually break below this area, of course, that'll be very bearish for Ethereum if that were to happen. I'm not saying that will happen, but if that were to happen, that'll be very bearish. So in that case, obviously, I'd still want at least some of the trade still remaining open in that more bearish scenario to make massive profits on potentially a worst case scenario. But remember, even if the price reverses back into the bullish direction, they'll just hit the stop loss and automatically close the trade in some slight profits here, even in the worst case scenario for the short position, that is. So that is my current trading strategy for Ethereum right now, basically showing you how I'm making profits in the crypto market, no matter if the price is bullish or bearish. I'm making thousands of dollars every week, no matter what the price is doing. And so if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on so that you don't miss out on any of these important update videos where I'm revealing these trading opportunities here, showing how to make money in crypto completely for free here on YouTube, when a lot of other people out there charge for this information in private groups. And of course, once again, if you want to get set up ready to go to take these trading opportunities to make a lot of money in crypto, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking this trade once again over on Bitfinex, that first link below this video if you want to claim those major bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, and right now Solana is joining the rest of the crypto market with this slight pullback, but of course rejecting from this significant area of resistance sitting in between around 190 to 200. And so we do have a possible double top here in the price of Solana, as the price is once again rejecting from the same area of resistance that I've already been warning about for a long time now on the channel. But in terms of support here, if we continue a bit more of a pullback, first of all, we're running into a little bit of short-term support at close to $180. But if we break below 180, the next key point of support is at around 167. And if we break 167, below that we have more support at roughly 156 and also in between 143 to 146. And technically the larger trend is still forming higher lows and higher highs, which is technically a bullish trend, but especially more recently over the last few weeks, over the last 1 to 2 months or so, obviously this larger bullish trend is starting to slow down and really lack bullish momentum, as we could see. So at least in the shorter term, honestly, for the next few days or possibly weeks, it's likely we'll see a little bit more of a pullback or cool off in the price. It's a very likely scenario, especially if Ethereum and Bitcoin are doing the same. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, like I've already been warning about over the last few weeks or so, XRP has already confirmed a major bearish divergence between the price and the RSI. So of course, we've already confirmed higher highs in the price in the candle closes and lower highs confirmed in the weekly XRP RSI. And the last time we saw bearish divergence like this on the weekly XRP price chart was all the way back here around the end of 2020, entering into early 2021, between these lower highs in the RSI and higher highs in the price. And of course, what came next after that significant bearish divergence was a significant pullback in the price over the next multiple months. And so once again, this is not a short-term signal, but as I've already been warning about for weeks now on the channel, when everyone else out there was telling you the opposite, I've been warning you here on the channel that for near the end of this month and especially the next couple of months, so say September, October, it's likely we're going to see a bit more of a pullback or a larger cool off for XRP and a lot of crypto. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, obviously right now in the short term, we're still within this sideways price range, but still within larger bearish price structure. Obviously, this larger price structure is still looking very similar to what we saw near the beginning of this year, which is exactly what I've been saying every day since we broke below around $3.40. From that point onwards, I've been saying this is looking very bearish in terms of the larger price structure, not the short-term moves. And so obviously, even during a larger bearish trend, for example, a larger bearish price structure, we can see short-term bullish moves, even major bullish moves towards the upside in the short term within a much larger pullback. So once again, at least for now, that is simply the situation based on what the chart is looking like. Obviously, still within a larger bearish price structure, larger pullback essentially is what is most likely going to happen over the next few weeks or months. But in the immediate short term, yes, it is possible we could see little bounces from support and things like that. And the next support, which we're running into right now, is in between around $2.90 to $3. So it's possible we could maybe see some sort of slight bounce soon. But if we break below $2.90 with confirmation, the next support below that is sitting at around $2.75. And below that, we have significant support in this area based on previous significant resistance becoming new support, sitting in between around $2.55 to $2.62. And as for resistance, if we see a little bit of a bounce here in the short term, expect some resistance at around $3.10 to $3.15. And of course, significant resistance at around $3.35 to $3.40. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, obviously just over the last couple of days, we confirmed the breakout above this Fibonacci level, which was sitting at just above $24. So in between around $24 to $25 is the area that I've been talking about here on the channel, which previously was acting as resistance, but is now acting as new support, considering we've broken out above that area. So usually previous resistance becomes new support, which is the case right now. And considering that previous major bullish move that we experienced over the last couple of days or so, from around $21, $22 all the way up towards around $26, almost $27, considering that move that we saw over the last few days, it's likely that Chainlink is looking quite strong right now, meaning if we see maybe a slight little pullback, retesting this level, for example, it's likely we could see a quick recovery or a quick bounce out of that slight pullback here. So unlike maybe some other crypto assets that are somewhat lacking bullish momentum, like Solana, for example, and especially if ETH BTC remains bearish, Ethereum obviously lacking bullish momentum. But while that's happening for a lot of other crypto assets, Chainlink is showing a lot of strength right now in the market. And so what that means in terms of a trading strategy is not financial advice, but personally, I'd not be looking for short positions for Chainlink. Honestly, that'll be quite dangerous with the strength that Chainlink is showing. I'd not really be looking for short positions unless we see a major change in the price structure. But right now, we've not seen that. So honestly, it's possible we could look for some slight long positions here, but also keep in mind that is quite risky after this major bullish move. So that's why I'm simply just shorting Ethereum right now as my current current trading strategy. But let's just say I certainly would not be looking for a short position right now for Chainlink, so keep that in mind. And in terms of resistance, if we see a bit more of a bounce here, expect a lot of resistance at around $26.70 to $27, so just under $27 in the higher $26 area. Expect a lot of resistance around there based on this previous high. But if we see a confirmed breakout, ideally with a daily candle close above $27, in that situation, the next major price target is roughly $30 based on this previous high. And we technically still have a bearish divergence to watch out for, which is currently forming for the price of Chainlink, but not yet confirmed, because we recently confirmed a new higher high in the price in the candle closes, but we've not yet reconfirmed the lower high in place in the daily Chainlink RSI. So once again, we're still forming lower highs, we're still possibly forming a bearish divergence, but we're still waiting for this to actually reconfirm with the latest highs that have been put in place. And so overall, considering the larger timeframes here, the bigger picture, the larger trend, still currently looking very bullish for the price of Chainlink. It's just we're experiencing a bit of a short-term pullback coinciding with a lot of the crypto market right now for the price of Chainlink. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, like what I'm doing right now, to make a lot of easy profits in the crypto market, no matter what the price is doing, make sure to check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves to make a lot of easy profits in crypto, make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.